She was sexually abused by 6 men. Girl, 35 months, defiled by the father. He suffered severe beatings from his wife. These acts, simply called gender-based violence or GBV, now illegal in Zambia, seem to be grabbing headlines in the media almost on a daily basis. In simple definition, gender-based violence or GBV can be described as any harmful or abusive act against a person which occurs in private or public life on account of that person's gender. GBV is in many forms, but the most prominent ones are physical, emotional, psychological, verbal, economical, and sexual abuses. According to the Zambia Police Victim Support Unit, records indicate that GBV cases are seriously increasing at an alarming rate. It is for this reason that 3 Livingstone-based private companies, Zambezi FM Radio, Thorntree Safaris, and Bush Trucks Africa, thought of coming up with a 1,000-kilometer border-to-border cycling campaign dubbed the Freedom Ride, under the slogan Lega GBV, to raise awareness on the ills and the need to reduce and eventually stop GBV in the country. Lega means no in all the languages along the line of rail. In the early hours of Tuesday, 16 September 2014, the 20 cyclists prepared themselves for their Chililabongwe to Livingstone 1,000-kilometer long journey. The Freedom Ride was a unique and historical one. Never before had 3 private companies partnered with government and international organizations such as UNICEF, Irish Aid, and the Republic of Sweden for a campaign of this magnitude, nor had any group of cyclists ever cycled the Chililabongwe to Livingstone route of 1,000 kilometers. Also historical was that the group had Zambia's celebrated personalities, Olympic medalist and former athletics world 400-meter hurdles champion Samuel Matete.
I think the greatest achievement that I would like to see is just the fact that we make a change in the community.
And the only lady among the men, world bantamweight boxing champion Catherine Perry.
I also want to be a champion in this, not only in boxing.
The youngest cyclists, 3 of them, were 16, and the oldest 56. They were the Freedom Riders. Gender Deputy Minister Honorable Esther Banda had this message.
We have all witnessed the high incidence of this scourge. This is indeed a major concern for government. Last year, the reports from the Victim Support Unit indicated that the number of GBV cases stood at 10,217 countrywide.
Apart from GBV, the 20 Freedom Riders were equally concerned about the deaths of mothers while giving birth, commonly known as maternal mortality.
On average, 38 women die every month during pregnancy and childbirth from preventable causes. Zambia needs to invest in safe motherhood.
She then flagged off the 10-day anti-GBV campaign. The Freedom Riders, in their first 78 kilometers from Chililabongwe through Chingola to Kitwe, immediately started showing their zeal for their marathon journey to the tourist capital as they raced alongside heavy-duty trucks. Kitwe eagerly awaited them.
We are going to be celebrating our Golden Jubilee when some of our children have been infected with HIV and AIDS by thoughtless and reckless men who have defiled them. So even as we celebrate our Golden Jubilee, it should be an opportunity for us to reflect on the struggle against gender-based violence.
Ndola, the administrative headquarters of the Copper Belt, put up an impressive parade as the Freedom Riders entered the city, with the majorates thrilling onlookers with skillful marching antics.
Men in the Copper Belt have surrendered. Women have also pledged that they will use knives in the kitchen in a proper way. This is the declaration that we made in the Copper Belt, that men and women, let's come on a round table and discuss.
I now flag off this important
After cycling 122 kilometers from Dola in 6 hours, the Freedom Riders entered Central Province's Kaperi Poshi town at 14:35.
Ladies and gentlemen, even the best of laws will have very little or no impact unless there is a change in the attitudes of both men and women.
The anti-GBV ambassadors passed through Kabwe and took a rest in Chisamba. These Freedom Riders reached Lusaka on day 5. Gender Minister Inonge Wina and her Deputy Esther Banda, diplomats, the United Nations in Zambia, human and civil rights activists among others, and the general public welcomed the cyclists in Lusaka from Manda Hill and cycled all the way to Arcade's shopping mall where a public show was held.
Zambia Police Service is very much ready and will continue doing this through our department, the Victim Support Unit.
Free children and free women make all societies more fair and more strong. It makes our societies more free.
We are not going to achieve all of the Millennium Development Goals. Gender-based violence against children, against boys, against men, but mostly against women, is not going to allow us to develop. And let no woman die while giving life. We cannot allow that.
As a country, we refuse to be brought down to our knees. The GBV Act addresses issues relating to prevention of GBV and the protection of survivors. But I think we need to go further to examine all the laws of Zambia to enable us to capture all the aspects of GBV.
Day 6 was another tough one, as the cyclists endured the blazing heat, the high Munali hills and the 125 kilometers Lusaka-Mazabuka stretch in only 6 hours. Eugene Munyama is Mazabuka District Commissioner.
Many at times, persons with disabilities are often excluded from community activities, including programs to prevent GBV. I'm hopeful that with this committed team of riders, they will bring on board persons with disabilities.
Now our prayer is we achieve our goal. Thank you. Off we go.
Police officers abandoned their security duties to the cyclists and also joined the fight against GBV. Monze was the next stop.
As a community, we must therefore challenge negative culture, values and tradition that hate or disempower our anyone, especially women and girls, but must hold on to traditions that are empowering, respectful and inspiring.
We would like to say thanks with the following responses.
In the southern provincial capital, Joma, Provincial Deputy Permanent Secretary Douglas Ngimbu had a word of caution to members of the public.
Unfortunately, it has also been noticed that when the police, our gallant police, when they act by arresting the culprits, especially the male culprits, you would find that our women folk usually are in the forefront to come and plead again, to withdraw. The idea of withdrawal in such cases, this is why GBV cases are on the increase.
Another fully packed gathering awaited the Freedom Riders in Galoma.
With the support from traditional and community leaders, I believe we can still change things now for the betterment of the future. Say no, say no. Say no, say no, say no.
Let us therefore work together towards freedom from gender-based violence. To all of us gathered here, we should go back and ignite change in our communities.
The anti-GBV ambassadors finally had the last night in the middle of the bush around Zimba area. As usual, Chris Tet had his morning drill with the team before hitting the road to complete the last leg of their 1,000-kilometer cycling against GBV. After cycling for over an hour from Zimba area, the cyclists finally arrived in Livingstone and were met and joined at the weighbridge by government officials, the church, school children, the general public, and many others concerned with GBV. They all cycled through Livingstone town to the Livingstone post office to a huge welcome from Livingstone residents as they finally pedaled to the end of their historical 1,000-kilometer journey. Kids had their say on the vice.
Please end gender-based violence to avoid polluting our minds.
Speeches denouncing GBV and calling for improved maternal health care were also done.
To this effect, CPFZ will act as the foot soldiers by blowing whistles against GBV. Each time you hear a whistle blown, you rush to help because there is a perpetrator conducting GBV activities.
Guest of honor, Southern Province Deputy Permanent Secretary Douglas Ngimbu read a speech on behalf of the Permanent Secretary of Ministry of Gender and Child Development and wrapped up the 10-day-long cycling trail from border to border.
Gender-based violence is our problem. It is indeed saddening to hear that the police recorded over 8,600 cases of gender-based violence in the first part of 2014. Maternal health care is of great concern too. Addressing these issues require a multi-sectoral approach, as has been demonstrated through the Freedom Ride.
The three managing directors of the Livingstone-based organizing companies had their last say as they presented the certificates of appreciation to the Freedom Riders.
All the 10 provinces around Zambia should be clean of gender-based violence. We want a GB-free society.
I'd like to say thank you to my riders, and I believe that they are now ambassadors against GBV.
Say this has been a wonderful experience, and we will be back next year. And everyone, I hope, will start to join us in shouting out Leka.
The 1,000-kilometer journey was over, and the Freedom Riders against GBV in the Jubilee year of Zambia's independence through hills and mountains finally joined their families in a boat cruise to signal the end of an epic journey for a noble cause.
It's the Freedom Ride, Golden Jubilee, raising awareness against gender-based violence, child defilement, and of course child abuse. Say no.